Oh my God, I am so triggered right now. Have you ever said that? Have you ever felt that? If so, come on, let's have a chat. My name is Debbie Pearson, and I am founder and creator of Women's Self Mastery, where we learn how to navigate the craziness of the emotional world so we can bring some sanity into our lives. This is your Practice Makes Perfect video today, where we're going to be talking about 3 specific triggers that just might drive you crazy. So if you're new, welcome, and hit some buttons, you know what to do. And of course, as always, feel free to share the video if you think this could help someone. So today I'm going to talk about 3 triggers. The first one is unfair shame. So if you feel shame a lot, like I'm bad or I don't matter, this may be for you. Number 2 is mind reading and how that can translate into codependency. Self-consumed people, the oblivious and thoughtless ones among us. Okay. So just so you know, this is like part 2 of why does that trigger me? So part 1 is either in the YouTube or in Women's Self Mastery in the media section. So there's links in the description if that's of interest to you. So before we go any further, I would like to just kind of restate what a trigger is, which is a strong emotional reaction when something shows up different as expected. And it's typically something that happened in the past, and it's coming up in a strong way where we, like I said, have a strong emotional reaction, kind of energy. Oftentimes it's actually like a re-injury to a core, they call it core wound or an inner wound or a child wound, where it was something that happened in the past and it's showing up again. So it feels like a gaping wound that just keeps getting re-injured and just never heals. And actually that's probably pretty accurate. It's not healing. When you do the right kind of work, that inner work, I call it emotional education, I've noticed time and time again that gaping wounds, say pain of like 8, 9, and 10, end up becoming like scars. It's like maybe a 2, a 1. It's like I know it's there. I can see the scar. I have scars, but I'm not gonna show. I can see the scar. I remember what happened, but the emotional pain has dissolved. Okay, so it is possible for this to happen. So these stored memories, which come and they stick in the unconscious, I'm just going to call it unconscious, maybe the subconscious mind, often from childhood, and not always from childhood. Other things can happen in our lives that can create traumatic events for us. But a lot of times, things that happened in childhood may not actually be true, but they feel so true. And they're so true to us. And we've established that pattern so strongly that we can't see that it's not true. Especially the one that goes, I'm a bad person, or I am not enough, or I don't matter. Deep, deep, deep wounds, deep wounds. But is it true? Is a person a bad person? Probably not. I mean, are there some? Yes, of course, but not typically. It's typically something we've decided as a child. Same thing with I don't matter. Of course we matter. But when we're brought up in a particular way, we do have that feeling as if we don't. Or what's wrong with me, or whatever the other ones are. But these are all, we call them disempowering beliefs, and they're very challenging, but we can get beyond them. We can dissolve them over time. But we do need to educate ourselves with information and skills that are going to make that happen. Okay, so the first one I talked about was unfair shame. And as I said, it's a core wound from a long time ago. Some of the feelings that a child feels is unworthy, unlovable, flawed, something's wrong with me. It's how the child interprets the situation. And we'll talk about different things that a parent might do and why a child may feel flawed or unworthy. Sometimes they don't feel loved unless they're doing things perfect, or they're like shining a bright light on the family, meaning getting excellent grades in school or being a cheerleader or football player or whatever. Sometimes a child feels like they're bad, right? Or maybe they deserve bad things to happen to them. Yep, that's what it is, right? But is that true? No, but in the moment, you cannot convince this person that what they're feeling isn't true. So I'm not trying to do that, and I want to be clear about that. I'm just bringing up what has happened and what does happen with unfair shame, but to also give hope that there is a way past it, okay? So you get back to what a child might feel is that they're not deserving of their parent or caregiver. I may use the word caregiver a lot. A caregiver is one who gave you care. So that could be parents, grandparents, or anybody else in the family, adopted parents, just anybody, if they're kind of primary in your life. But I say caregiver a lot because it just makes it a little more fair for everybody. You may be accused, right? The unfair shame may be an accusation. You're lying when you don't really think you're lying. And then you have to like question yourself and go, am I lying? I don't even know anymore, right? And so there's a lot of confusion that goes along with it. So what also goes along with it is anxiety, a lot of anxiety. Sometimes it's a constant low level, and other times it's just super heightened all the time or on a regular basis. So what are some of the caregiver actions that would go along with that, that would bring up someone having unfair shame in their lives? If your caregiver was a perfectionist, oftentimes that parent will see a child as an extension of themselves. And either you do great and they're very proud of you, so they're proud to consider you as an extension of their own perfect self. Or maybe you're like a normal kid who at 10 years old does not have a fully formed and functioning brain, and you screw up and then you're the bad guy. So it's very challenging. You may have had a caregiver that gave you the silent treatment, that's how they handled stuff from their childhood. But the message you got was, you're not worth my time. I'm cutting you off. I don't want to hear from you. Get away from me, right? Maybe you were misunderstood and the other person, caregiver, right, would get mad and you are shamed for something simple, like you forgot something. So maybe you're like 10 or 12-year-old kid and it's like the family's going to the beach on vacation. It's like, y'all go pack your clothes, with the adult assuming that what's in their mind is being translated into your mind, which it's not, and that's crazy. And then you get to the beach resort or whatever, and it's like, you didn't pack, like, I don't know, maybe your swim trunks or your flip-flops or something. And then you're challenged, like, are you stupid? Why didn't you do that? You know we're going to the beach. What is wrong with you? It's very, very, it's very shaming, right? Very uncomfortable to grow up in that type of environment. Just a couple more might be, maybe the caregiver gave a lot of attention to your sibling, but not to you. That sibling may or may not have joined into the unfair shaming and also gave it to you, because now they can buddy up with the parents, right? Now we're all of a group and that went over there. And so it's like, what is happening, right? And there's a lot going on there. We're not going to get into that, but it is, it's very unfair and it's very shaming. And so that's a double whammy, right? Sometimes the caregiver is expected to act like an adult or be the adult. I know that it was that way for me. And I only know that because I can remember saying words my whole life going, oh my God, I feel like I'm the parent, right? So I didn't know what that meant. All I know is once I started doing a lot deeply this work to become a coach, I began to realize how many little things that I actually noticed. I didn't know what they meant. I didn't know where they came from. I didn't know why I was thinking them, but now I do. And so that's helped me a lot. Part of my emotional education. The last one is, this one's so challenging. It's like caregivers, parents, whoever, that take their anger out on the innocent child who may not have even known what was happening. So another parent one, may have said to parent two or caregiver two, let's buy this or rent that or whatever. The child has no idea. And then the first one who didn't really want to do it, but was convinced to do it, gets really, really angry. But instead of having appropriate anger or anger at the appropriate person, ends up taking it out on the child. So, so, so uncomfortable. So again, what is the solution for this type of trigger? Well, again and again and again, I will say, get an emotional education. You know, we have such clarity about our physical world. We know how to handle our physical world. Everything that is physical, we are intimately familiar with, from cooking and cleaning and banking accounts to like, you're hungry, you go get something to eat. You're cold, you go get a jacket. It's like you don't really think about it. It's just you're so comfortable in it. But when it comes to the emotional world, we're like, I don't know hardly anything. I know I have emotions, but I don't really know what to do with them. That's what I mean by get an emotional education. Find out, why am I feeling what I'm feeling? Because you're feeling it for a reason. You are feeling it for a reason. Okay. Let's see. The other part, or another solution for this one, is the negative self-talk, where we're repeating what we heard a lot as children. Oh, see, there I am, I'm bad again, or I don't deserve it. Oh yeah, see, that's the way it should be. I'm not worthy of that. When in reality, that negative self-talk, we can dissolve that with a step-by-step process that doesn't take very long to learn and understand, one night. And then it's putting that into practice again and again. And I will talk about how to do that in the Women's Self-Mastery community. So if that's going to be on Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. So if you want to know how to do that, come to the community and I will let you know. But what we can do, and it takes about 6 months, but at the end of that 6 months, you're like, man, I don't hardly ever have a negative self-talk anymore. It is phenomenal how well it works. All right, let me get back to this. Okay, number 2, the second one was mind reading, which often is associated with codependency. Now, this one happens a lot in childhood, right? So the child may have feelings of, I don't matter, I'm not worthy, I am unlovable, I'm undeserving. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Look, see, I am a bad person. I feel undervalued. Or not acknowledged or accepted for who I am. I feel like an outcast. It's just very challenging. There's so many challenging parts to this. Okay, so what we end up doing is kind of creating a scenario in our minds that, like, the other person, whoever it is, when we're growing up, it might have been a family member. And if we're like an adult now, we often see it as whoever the other person is, no matter who they are, but typically people we're around, like at work or something like that. And we say, you know, that person should see how hard I'm working, they should see my struggles, and they should fix it. Like, I'm knowing how I'm feeling. How is it that they don't know how I'm feeling, right? So there's the codependency. Like, it's your responsibility to fix it, not mine. You got to do it. And so, you know, one of the things that happened for us is we are seeing other people as our savior, I guess you could say. That's codependency, because I can't be happy unless you create the situation for me to become happy. And it is a disempowering belief because it's so not true. But when you live in that mindset, it's very, very true for you. So again, there are ways around that. This child finds it very hard to say no to people when they say yes when they should say no for certain things. But because they learned in childhood to please their parents by acquiescing to their parents, they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble, that they're going to be seen as bad, they're going to be shamed again. You know, it's like we have a really, really hard time feeling shame, because there's a difference between embarrassment and guilt and shame. And I will do another video later. I don't know exactly when, but like, embarrassment is like, oh, I know I did something. Should have done that. You know, like, I just accidentally made a mistake, right? Guilt is, I went too far. I did a thing. I'm embarrassed, right? Embarrassed and guilt go together. But shame is I am shame. And it's an embodiment of something, not something I did. So it's me, the person, not the action I performed. All right, so like I said, when we are little, we're going to tell our parents yes because we want approval, acceptance, and appreciation from our parents. And they're going to be really excited when we say yes because that's what they want to hear, right? But if things don't quite go our way, we get actually really angry, and then we feel like undervalued and under-deserving or underloved. And that, again, can show up in our personal and professional lives. Also, when we don't know how to say no, we become what is known as the yes person. Doing this a lot. The yes person. So people see you doing extra work and working through lunch and working overtime and maybe on the weekends or something because you are not able to say no. So they see you as the person that says yes, and water runs downhill. So you're the easiest target for them to hit. And they may not be looking at you as a target, but it's like, oh my God, I have too much to do. I'll ask that one because she always says yes, right? So it's just the easiest place to land. So learning boundaries, loving boundaries toward yourself is a good thing to do here. Again, this is a core wound. We get triggered over and over because what happens? They come to ask us, hey, can you do this other thing? And then we want to just explode on them because it's like, don't you know how much I already have on me? It's just too much. And, like, how dare you ask me to do another thing? You should be able to see what I'm going through. Okay. And there are much, much healthier ways to handle that. A particular kind of communication, just a quick aside. It's like, oh my gosh, if you're trying to give me that, then you must be super busy. But you know what? I'm super busy too. So now we're acknowledging we're both really, really busy. And then it's like, let's brainstorm on what could happen. What could happen could be anything. It depends on where you work, what you do. But it is a better way of handling it rather than, why are you asking me, right? But we have a tendency to want to do that. Even if we don't explode, we implode. Just as unhealthy because now we're damaging our own selves. So again, what is the solution here? Well, again, emotional education. I'll probably say that every day, every time. But a lot of what's happening is anxiety. We might be in fight, right? That's the, anger out. Fight, flight, I got to get out of here. I got to run away. Freeze, like, oh God, I don't know what to do. Or fawning, like, oh, of course I'll do it. I'll do it. And then, I wish I wouldn't have said yes. So it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And that is really prevalent in this particular trigger. It's good to note that that person may have triggered your core wound, but they didn't create the core wound, right? So let's just say core wounds created in childhood, and this person says something that core wound is right there for them to like slash it. And then we're so mad at them for us feeling our own emotional pain. And I get it. Had they not said it, we wouldn't feel it. But if we do learn emotional education, we learn the inner work and we learn to dissolve it, it goes away, or at least it dissolves down to where it's a scar and not a gaping wound. So there, again, there is a possibility to get things remedied. To remember that it's our own responsibility and not the other person's responsibility to communicate properly and then not expect them to read our minds. And that may seem really, really challenging, but I think that's one that you can get over and beyond pretty quickly. And the fourth one is boundaries, learning to say no when you mean no, instead of saying yes and being miserable. All right, so in Women's Self-Mastery Community on Thursday, we'll talk more about anxieties and ways to communicate and a bunch of other stuff too. Bring your stories, because I love to hear your stories. Self-consumed people, that's the third one. So these people are the thoughtless and oblivious people. And what's interesting is you can see and hear them because they're obvious, but they do not see or hear you. And so let me share what these people might be like, and then I'll talk about what a child might experience and might experience it as an adult, or it might trigger you anyway. So these people are often, I shouldn't say often, maybe they are actually a narcissist and just think that you should let them do whatever they want to do. Like they don't even consider you, they're just going to do it. They may have some addiction to drugs or alcohol. They may have some kind of a mental issue. And I'm talking about that, not necessarily that it was your caregiver, although it may have been, but if you're like in, I don't know, a store or a place that's normally quieter, like a movie theater or a museum, and this person just whips out the phone like, hey, what's going on? And they're talking loud and you're like, oh my God, like no self-awareness whatsoever. I know that triggers me tremendously. And I have to work on when I'm in that to remind myself of certain things. We'll get to that. So there's a lot of reasons why somebody might act that way. And it's more than likely came from their childhood, and they are just trying to do the best they can with the limited amount of help growing up that they got. So a child that grows up around people that are thoughtless and self-consumed definitely have feelings that they don't matter. Gee, I need to fix things. I need to fix things because maybe if I fix things and I'm really responsible for everything and everybody, bad things won't happen, right? And then people pleasing comes along with that. Maybe it's feeling that there must be something wrong with me. I must have done something wrong. Maybe I'm just a bad person. Or being told like, you don't know what you're talking about. And so you're like, I don't know what I'm talking about. So that's kind of a cognitive dissonance where I can't trust my own thoughts and feelings. So the things that a caregiver may have done that wasn't even intentional, because not intentional in a way that they plotted it out, although they may have intentionally acted this way because they know that this particular pattern fulfills a need for them. But they may have been unaware of your feelings, right? Like you may have been bullied in school or on the way home, but you couldn't even tell your parents about it because they were like, whatever, or no, you're lying. What? They didn't mean that. I mean, they're just going to dismiss your feelings. It could have been that a family pet died and you're really torn up about it. It could have been your goldfish, right? But you're really upset that the goldfish died, or the dog or the cat, and they're just unaware and can't quite like really get, even the pet died, doesn't affect them. You're upset, doesn't affect them. It's challenging. All right. So they're very consumed with themselves. And unfortunately, what the child does is internalize it as if there must be something wrong with me, that this person I care about isn't showing me love. Okay. So maybe they had a perfectionist parent, right? So if you had a perfectionist parent, your parent was probably either very rigid, or they thought they were perfect, or that they're the perfect caregiver or parent. And you better not do anything to upset their distorted, perfect view of themselves, or you're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble. And when you did get in trouble, there was no sense of like fairness or justice. And there may have been really, really harsh punishments, or punishments that were way harsher than they should have been, where what might have been typical to be like, I don't know, punished for a weekend where, you're grounded. You may have gotten grounded for a month or 2 or 3 months, right? There may have been verbal abuse on, you don't even know why you're being yelled at because you didn't do anything that you could tell that was wrong, but the parent is taking it out on you. If you try to share your feelings or something you remember and it puts them in a bad light, you've got to be wrong. You must be wrong. You're lying, all those things. Maybe they look down on you, talk down on you, making you feel just lower than low. And the unfortunate residual on that is the disempowering belief that you're not good enough and you'll never be good enough, no matter how much you do or accomplish. You're just a POS and you need to stay down there. And I'm not even sure why that actually happens, but it happens way more than we believe that it does. I don't know if that came out right. So a negative thing about that is you may pick up a habit that says, oh, I need to be better than that other person over there, or I'm not good enough. And I know I sometimes feel that way. Like if I can't lose weight and I'm not thinner than somebody, like I feel like I'm less than in some way. And it's crazy to say that. And it's embarrassing to say that. But I'm being honest and truthful. Sometimes that shows up for me. Now, I can't stop the thought from coming in. All I can do is decide and choose how long I'm going to dwell on that. And I have to quash it. I have to say, yeah, you can't think that. That's a BS thought. So the solution is recognizing the difference between truth and belief. I know that a lot of people believe what they believe to be true, but a lot of times it's just actually a belief. So I like to look at truth and just, kind of take it with a grain of salt. You do you. But I like to look at truth as a truth is true for everyone. So I say gravity, true for everyone. Electricity, true for everyone. Water, wind, true for everyone. It does not discriminate no matter what, no matter where. It doesn't. So to me, those are true truths. Those are just absolutes. Most everything else is a belief. Even if it's true for us, if it's not true for everyone, we have permission to challenge our belief. Okay. So, it's good to recognize that other people also had rough childhoods and that maybe they're not doing what they're doing to us, that they're just acting in a way that they found to be a survival mechanism for themselves. So then we get to look at how are we going to handle that? Some things we can do things about, some things we can't. Some things we can control, some things we can't. I mean, a healthy control, not trying to control everything. But, depending on who the person is it our boss or is it a family member? So everything's conditional and would need to be addressed individually. All right. This is pretty much the end. I would just want to invite you to join me in the Women's Self-Mastery community on Thursday at 11 a.m. And we'll go deeper into solutions and how to handle specific steps of what triggers us and what we might be able to do about it. And that's it as far as the lesson goes. I am going to take about 30 seconds to do a very short little meditation, hand on heart. If you'd like to join with me safely, please feel free to do so. And if you are in a place and you can repeat after me, feel free to do that. All right, and I'll walk you through it. So getting comfortable. I like to put my hand on my chest and I like to close my eyes and take a deep breath in and out. Once again, and out. And if you'd like to repeat after me, please repeat. May I be peaceful. May I be well. May I recognize the love that resides within me. Another deep breath in and out. And one last one. And out. And that's it. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.